Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2, a best-of-5 North American showdown. Either of these two players could easily represent the best of NA, but only one of them can move on. Let me first introduce, in the bottom left, the blue Zerg. She is Scarlett. Definitely a fan favorite, but rivaled, potentially, in the top right by the best American player. Going through several teams. He's actually on Team Onside now, semi-retiring earlier this year, which means, of course, he's had even more success. From the great state of New York, it is Neeb in the red. We haven't seen too much of him lately, but he's been quietly yet confidently crushing it. I think there is something to be said for taking the pressure off, where Neeb was... it's hard to go from being a 3-time WCS champion to, essentially anything else. That is a high bar he set for himself some years ago. But he's gone back to school, and that is why he hasn't participated in too many of the European tournaments. But thankfully, Dreamhack Atlanta is in, Atlanta, so maybe his ATL will not be an all-time low, but instead a new success story. But Scarlett, still, while somewhat inconsistent, still one of the most exciting players out there. She's got her own style. A bit of a high-risk, high-reward. Playing Zerg versus Protoss nowadays is... I'm not sure what the meta... To be honest, I don't know what the meta is. A lot of Zerg players are attempting these early attacks to gain an advantage. Some players are settling in for the long haul, Dark, Serral, with their Hogwarts of spellcasters and entrenched defenses. Neeb historically has been a more defensive player, but with that backhanded aggression, especially with things like adepts. What? Neeb? Okay. Not to be that guy, but yeah, okay, there it is. Twilight Council. I was wondering if Neeb was just gonna go straight up gateway units like it's 2010, but adds the Twilight, still after 3 gateways, interestingly. This is... he's intending on a significant amount. This leans towards adepts, in my opinion. Like, this looks very much like we're going to open up with the glaives. We'll have to see. Scarlett took the 3rd, as the probe severely discouraged taking the natural, as it oftentimes does. Though 3 bases up and running. Scarlett at 37 drones, which is about the number when you want to start building units to defend any sort of aggression. Okay, what is it? It's glaives. Here we go. Back to the classics. 5 adepts already shading across. Roach 1 on the way. This is such an awkward amount of units, because Neeb still has the recall. They don't have glaives, obviously, but it's enough adepts that you can't just fight them with Zerglings, at least not very cost-effectively. Neeb is trying to limit Scarlett's drone count while simultaneously not risking any sort of his unit count. This early gateway... I'm not going to say explosion, but this early gateway addition will allow him to defend the 3rd and pressure Scarlett. Of course, it runs the risk of being too low on tech as time goes on, because you've invested heavily in adepts. So if Scarlett's able to defend this with minimal damage, then there's not much of a follow-up. So Neeb still has to be a little careful, but the chrono boost on the glaives, wow, that's finishing fast. The glaive's almost done here. The adept count up to 11. Roach is on the way. Scarlett at 49 drones. Neeb at 46, still building probes behind this. Important to note. Shades all the way into the main, completes it. Roaches popping out to deal with it. Already some drones going down, but the adepts are being whittled down to a smaller... it's overall... Well, you gotta kill all the adepts. 2 adepts can do just as much damage as 20 in the right place. And... that last set found the mineral line. 9 drones down. Now the question is... the counterattack. Is there anything coming? There's no Ravagers, which means the sentries that Neeb has had for a bit, full of energy, and by full I mean at least a few force fields. The Roaches do not have speed on the way. I think Neeb towed the line of just the perfect line of commitment there. There wasn't too much damage dealt. He didn't lose too many units, but Scarlett doesn't have enough to come across the map and do damage either. So Neeb did the successful aggressive defense. And oh no. Oh yeah, there's no roach speed. You know why? Because Scarlett just started the lair. That is not ideal. I didn't even notice there was no lair at all. And that does very much limit Scarlett to some Zerglings poking around and trying to out-economize. Is that a warp prism? It's a fake warp prism. Which, Scarlett coming back to defend, but it will time out under the guise of the Overlord. I love the fake prism from the sentries. And now a real prism in production. Neeb so far is zoning Scarlett off the map without ever really committing anything substantial. Of course, Scarlett, the creep spread over halfway. A lot of stalkers moving out. There is an observer with this. Ravagers kind of required to keep the sentries from cutting up the battle in Protoss' favor. Neeb not really committing, just shaving off the creep tumors, minimizing that vision. Blink and +1 are about to finish. We'll see if he commits any further. A Warp Prism is joining the army. Scarlett has more army supply, but Neeb definitely has the more powerful army. Roach is just not known for their effectiveness in small numbers. In fact, Blink force fielding, blunking on it, cancels his own warp, but still loses the prism anyways. The corrosive bows, Neeb getting a little too fancy. Scarlett gets the prism, and that turns this from a well-controlled fight in Neeb's favor to, at best, a trade. The Zergling count, even the Queen, Brenda, it's, no, not yet, we need creep. Neeb turns it around with a warp in back at his 4. Oh, getting that warp prism is the only thing that kept this from spiraling for Scarlett, but it's still a dicey situation. That's a lot of Blink Stalkers. Neeb lost everything else pretty much. There's one Adept that kind of got jammed in there, but all the sentries, the Immortal, the Prism, are down. And Neeb can't stick around forever, as the Zerglings are going to be more than enough. Every moment that he sticks around without any sort of extra tech here, I think, is a liability. Neeb thinks so as well. At some point, the Zerglings become, if not a counter, they buffer for the rest of the units. So overall, a bit of a misfire from Neeb. That very well could have been a game-ending attack. But instead, Scarlett deflects it, deals with the prism. Another one out now, and Scarlett's at 75 drones. Of course, Neeb not to be outdone. 75 and adding on even more probes. It's going to be lurkers. Another key point. There is no Stargate. And just now, Neeb is making the robotics bay. And this leaves him at quite a tech dev. Is that a scouting immortal? Yes, a classic tactic. Oh no, he accidentally box selected the Neeb going full NA in game 1. He box selected the immortal with the hallucinated phoenix. And now, oh yeah, that was totally intentional, right, Neeb? Yeah, 100%. Recall. I don't know if it's worth the recall, to be honest. As now, that's a long cooldown for one immortal. Oh, he may be regretting that. Charge is not done. Lurkers on the way. The armies are coming together. The pressure is still on. A pretty high intensity game thus far. Both ground armies very capable of killing one another, but Scarlett now has Vipers out. Yanks in one immortal. Gets sliced and diced. The force field's not... I mean, with Lurkers on the other side of them, they just burrow and slice underneath. Neeb sharking around again. Scarlett not confident in picking a fight quite yet. Those Vipers, ooh, with like 20 HP between them. Not the ideal scenario to be in. 14 more drones on the way. Scarlett being Scarlett. We got 5-6 more gateways and a Stargate for Neeb. Storm. Zerglings will cancel the top left base while the Stalkers hold in the center of the map. Scarlett has already taken the bottom right. The not-so-charged lots are severely discouraging the Zerglings from continued activities, but they can't actually chase them down at the moment, so... another Warp Prism on the right flank. Neeb trying to get that base trade, such as it is. Belongs in. Lurkers aren't quite there yet. Force fields them out. There is an Observer here. There's actually no Hydras to deal with the Observer. So that option is not on the table, but Sentry's getting sliced. Valuable units getting picked out and killed here. Storm is done. Where's the feedbacks? Hits the Vipers. Yanks in a Templar, but loses the base. And on the other side, Neeb with the charge lock. 2 bases. Without really risking the core of his army. The Lurkers, though, they must be dealt with. The Lurker count is reaching double digits, and that's when things get... we're getting closer and closer to needing carriers, if not overwhelming robotics units. It's not quite there yet. Neeb still has enough units to threaten the Lurkers, force them to burrow further out. There isn't adaptive talents for that speed and speed burrow. Loses one Lurker, taking the wrong path. Oh, the Stalkers blink in. Gets one Viper. Yanks in an Archon. Beautiful Storm out of Neeb, though a very awkward angle. Looks into Lurkers. An incredibly bold move. We'll see if it pays off. Kills 5 or 6 of them, keeping that Lurker count down. And guess what? The fleet beacon's in the production tab. On the other side, the War Prism warped in a few more Zealots. They delayed a base, but what do we got over here? The Roach Ravager, the surviving Roach Ravager. Looking for another Nexus. Scarlett strikes back. There is a Dark Shrine done. How many start? The main base. A bit of everything. +3 attack. Carriers on the way. Charge lots into the third. Spine Crawlers will take a stab at it. The army kind of awkwardly caught out. These are some very expensive yet fragile units. Roach Ravager. Are there storms? There are storms. Neeb. Oh, yep. Scarlett down to 4 bases, but the Lurkers are holding. Thing is, those carriers put everything on a timer. Scarlett has to know they're... Oh my god. Well, if only they had done that during the cinematic. Warping behind the hatchery. Come on, guys. Are we warping in the front of the low ground? That was just a poor strategic decision. Still waiting for the Archons that can just grab an Ultralisk and suck it into the void. But any day now, I'm sure that patch is coming. Oh, the Lurker count is too damn high. The Zealot's getting eviscerated before they can even get close. While the Observer is intact, he can see that's way too many Lurkers. And that's about it for now. But 2 carriers gliding over. There is not a single iota of anti-air. And Scarlett, while she's stabilized back at home and looks to be in a good position to push, a single Hydralisk is not going to match these carriers. Now, understanding the options the carriers, Scarlett already has a Greater Spire on the way. Corruptors in production. The upgrades, +3 ranged attack, +1 melee. Meanwhile, Neeb just now going for +1 air. So, it's been a hectic game. Neither player comfortably maxing out. We're not in a turtle fest right now. We're still trying to outmaneuver each other. The anti-air, if you go too heavy into anti-air, then suddenly there's a Templar-based army just knocks you out of this. There's like 3 Archons and 10 Templar with Storm, so you can't invest too heavily in Corruptors, but at the same time, where else does your anti-air come from? The carrier count 5 or 6 is going to be too much for Hydras to handle. While the Corruptors are designed to deal with the carriers, I mean, the Archons, they get up close and personal. Meanwhile, Lurkers on the left flank, trying to divide and conquer as Scarlett. Is there any detection? Yo, where's the Observer? Observer now coming in, but a lot of probes dying. The army recalled to the left flank. The Hydras are now aware of that. They won't be aware of anything for long. Scarlett. Oh, wow. Okay, well, it looked great, but it looks like the supply is a disaster. The Lurkers on the right and left knocked out. The carrier still intact. The Templar either Archons or near full energy. And there's not much left, like trying to yank the carrier away from its friend so she can murder one of them. The Corruptors kill a Nexus, which is, you know, cross that off your bingo card. But now that is Protoss. Okay, here comes approximately 1 GG of Archons and however many carriers fill up the rest of the supply. That is a lot. Oh, no Broodlords, a handful of Lurkers. I don't know how many Lurker hits it takes to kill an Archon, but... Ooh. 10 Archons, 5 carriers. There's a bunch of Templar with a couple Storms underneath. This is an army you need to be ready for minutes beforehand, and Scarlett with 133 supply seems to be out of steam, out of gas, and more importantly, out of minerals. She tried to end it before this, and I cannot fault any Zerg player for attempting it. But when you go for the Lurkers, you've locked yourself into this not quite late game unit that's all about trying to win as opposed to hold. Neeb was able to keep control of the map long enough to get the carriers, and I am hard-pressed to see any options here. That's still a lot of Lurkers. Okay, that might be enough. This is the army. If she just had 15 more supply of both Lurker Corruptor. Desperately trying to hold on to really just any mining. Neeb has played a smooth game. A relatively... oh, that's interesting, Storm. Almost no bumps on his progression through the tech tree. That's so many Archons. They even do extra damage to the spy crawlers. Oh god. Scarlett just taps it out. Neeb puts together the army. Neeb with a really just in form. A few little hiccups there. Losing the Warp Prism, whatever that Immortal was doing. But overall, keeping control of the map, control of the game, and now has control of the series. 1-0 for the American. But that's why we play more than one game, because this isn't the ladder. Because if it was, then he would have already won, and it would have been like every G. Anyways, but game 2. Oh, intros, yes. Scarlett. The Zerg. You can tell by the way it is. Hello, Pro. Welcome. Everyone knows that as a Zerg player, your 2 options for your second base are your own third or their natural. It's been many moons since Zerg players have been allowed to take their naturally. We've learned to get over it, to be honest. Like, it didn't become the default move. It was still a bit of a novelty, but for like 2 or 3 years now, it has become just the go-to play. All you can really do, like most of the Zerg early game is just watching Protoss or Terran do whatever they want and praying and seething and really building up resentment and hoping you can punch them in the face hard enough later to get back at them. And that's very much Scarlett's style. It's just roll with the punches until she punches back harder. Of course, Neeb, quite a solid defensive player and able to hold on in game 1. God, it really felt like Scarlett didn't have any opportunities to put together a big attack. The Adepts did just the right amount. Just keeping Scarlett busy. The hatchery was so delayed. I mean, not the hatchery. The lair. You start as a hatchery. I know my I've done. I know what the Zerg things are. No guess. We're gonna see that third base momentarily. Probe finds its way back home. Stargate on the way for Neeb. Going heavy on gateways, if you get too locked into it, makes it easier for Zerg to counter. They adapt. That's their whole thing, right? So, if you know for a fact your opponent is not going Stargate, you can commit to a heavy amount of Zerglings. You can potentially cancel the third, or shut down any early attacks. Thing is, if you do that same thing and they go Stargate, well, now you've just essentially killed half a dozen drones for Zerglings that are not going to have a chance to do damage, because of Oracles, or, well, it's almost certainly Oracle. Void Rays, put back in their place earlier this year. No longer the default choice for essentially everything, but, you know, team games and grand finals of Has versus Nice. Oracle on the way. And the probe out for the third. Alright. And a bit of a macro game once again. Roach one. Just slapping it down near the third. We'll see what he does behind it. Hiding the first Oracle somewhat. Kind of waiting out any potential Zerglings. Waiting for 2. Will we be sending him out now? Yeah, enough to be able to burn through drones in a single volley. And the Adepts to zone out the Zerglings here. Giving minimal warning on these Oracles. Is there... Oh no, a couple drones already getting roasted. There is a spore just a couple seconds late. And that makes things... Oh no, there's no spore in the main. Oh, no, this is why we remember Spore 20. Scarlett a little greedy. 11 drones to the Oracles and doesn't even kill one. Also, Scarlett built a lot of Zerglings. For both to potentially intercept gateway units or do counterattack damage. Oh, it's not... Oh, beautiful force field from Neeb. Oh, it's not good. Okay, well... That is 11 drones and 13 Zerglings. And it's not like Neeb sacrificed anything for this. Neeb went with about the greediest third base you can get while still having the Stargate. Scarlett does have a lair done. Much quicker this time. Maybe suspicious of those gateway timings again, but... The Spore's a bit late, and now Neeb with a comfortable worker count. Yeah, Scarlett caught up, but that's Larva invested in more drones. Neeb just like, well, okay, how about a fourth? Scarlett taking a fourth of her own, but I think that gives away to Neeb that he's not going to have to worry about any sort of attack for a while yet. Okay, how about a fifth? Let's keep it going. The economic boom for both sides. 7 more gates in production for Neeb. This is quite just throwing them out there. It's gonna get dramatic once again. A huge amount of gateway units on tap against Hydralisk. Will we see 8? There's an infestation pit immediately. Are we rushing Hive Tech Lurkers? After this early game pressure, after that, well, really just Oracles. We're just sprinting to Hive. On the other side, Neeb, double Forge. All right, a Robo. We're just gonna fill out the rest of the tech tree real quick. Essentially everything but air. Neeb, okay, the Adept. Do you have a permit? Papers, please. What? We don't even have arms! Papers, please. Well, some of Neeb's units coming across, using the Oracles for Revelation. Oh, did you know Revelation? Wait. It gets the critters. Okay, Neeb has turned the critters into his own spies. Don't usually see that one, but... We got Storm on the way, charged. So far, Neeb just a few creep tumors. He's only lost an Adept and 2 probes. Oracle's still looking. When was the last time Neeb saw the main? Saw the Hive on the way at some point. Seismic Mines, Lurker range in production. Overlord speed. We're gonna see Lurker drops? I mean, just Zergling drops could be good. Anything to draw attention away. Honestly, when players are maxed out, that's when drops once again become particularly good. As you can't build / warp in units to defend, especially Protoss, obviously. So that's when it can get very awkward. And Neeb with 9 gateways going on 11 total. A 5th Nexus. 84 to 89 workers. All right, let's fight. Let's go. It's time. In the next minute or so, they're both going to be looking at maxing out. They both have more than enough workers. They both have more than enough tech. Something's got to give. A Lurker drop from Scarlett. A Warp Prism waiting for Neeb. Adrenal Glands, Adaptive Talents, +2/+2 for Neeb. Upgrades across the board, but economies are in full swing, with both of them over 3,000 minerals and 1,300 or so gas a minute. Fleet Beacon, double Stargate, Lurkers in the main. Here we go. Lurkers are gonna burrow, no adaptive talents yet, but no detection. Neeb gonna be thrown back. The Lurkers in the main, annoying for now, but not deadly. In fact, this Lurker could potentially hit the mineral line. Zergling counterattack onto the 5th. Neeb heading towards the 3rd. Blinks in. Observer in position. Roach is gonna try to pin the units up against the rocks. Not gonna be enough. Lurker's still going to work. Oracle's coming back. Some Zealots and a couple Archons. Zerglings kill the 5th. Zealots on the 5th. Zealots on the 4th. Meanwhile, the main attack, Archons battling it out. Those will go down. Rotates around to the 5th base. The Zerglings idle for now. The Lurkers have been dealt with. A huge warp and the Zealots in the main. Zealots still. They're everywhere. Wait, which one are the Zerglings? These all over the place. 15 drones down. Stalker warp in is an interesting choice. The Zealots, well, the carriers should be spotted by Scarlett. But meanwhile, during all this, 15 drones going down. Not sure how many probes. The probe count's down to 73. These Zerglings are having a tough time getting into the base. And it looks like at the end of the day, over the last 2 minutes, nearly even. Neeb managed to kill a little bit more gas and minerals. As you might expect with Archon Templar against Zergling Roach. But overall about even. Well, it's not over though. Scarlett once again knows she's on the clock. The carriers are in production. In fact, they have arrived. Air weapons level 1 on the way. Does Scarlett even have a spire? No. Oh, no. Which means I'm not sure what the win condition is now for Scarlett. She has no anti-air. She's got 101 drones and 4 Hydras. Which is not exactly the spread we're looking for. Actually, 0 Hydras, just 4 in production. Meanwhile, the armies... Storm's trying to blunt the slices here from the lurkers that are eviscerating the rest, but here comes everyone. The whole neighborhood, the lurkers being targeted, but slicing through the gateway army. The roaches a little bit late to the party. Scarlett adding on 14 more Hydralisks. A few more lurkers as a backstop here. Some revelation, a single observer. The carriers are forcing everything, just carving it out of this position. And now Scarlett is begrudgingly obligated to make something resembling anti-air, and that something is Hydras, which in many cases resemble an anti-air unit. Unfortunately, that weathering the storm is another story entirely. 22 interceptors. There's a storm, driving things back. Of course, if the interceptors are too close to the Hydras, they also get hit by it. Great split. And the interceptors themselves whittled down to the point where Neeb can no longer attack forward reliably. Zealots to the north. There's nothing here but a queen and a spine, which 2-2 zealots are easily going to shrug off. Some Hydras coming up to reinforce. The spine doing its job of delaying until units can get involved. Neeb knocking on the door right now. Scarlett answering with lurkers and Hydras, but a few observers. The lurker's gonna help. The interceptor count has been rebuilt, though the spores and Hydras are whittling away at it. Another storm. Neeb actually pulled the interceptors back into the carriers before the storm. Smartly done. He's reestablished the base. Scarlett's still at 86 drones, but this base is important to be able to mine from. The interceptors targeting lurkers, the ground army, the real threat underneath, the Archons closing in, the Hydras, a decent spread here. Where are the Templar for storm from Neeb? Well, the Templar just menacingly gliding forward. Scarlett knows and Neeb knows. There it is. Wow, almost before the storm. As Neeb once again reaches the critical mass. And Scarlett, stuck on that lurker tech, is not able to break through. 2-0 Neeb. A rough series so far, Scarlett. Not really... The early game is not going great. It's not going terrible, but definitely not great for Scarlett. Losing 11 drones to oracles, getting thrown back intact by the adepts. Neeb is doing these tiny yet effective, and it's not slowing down his economy at all. He's still getting a third base by the 4-minute mark. He's not cutting anything. He's just directing his resources towards the most efficient openers. And Scarlett, just a little late on responding. Which begs the question, does this trend continue? Have you yet smashed the like button? Are you gonna tune in for Dreamhack Atlanta? Is Scarlett able to pull first, or is that against her religion? All important questions. Did you enjoy this ad? And we're back. Well, Neeb did not send the probe out. It is day to see one of the longest rush distances in the whole map pool. So not even bothering to block the natural. Scarlett will be able to take the naturary for once, which Feels nice as a Zerg. Like, taking your third before your natural is like putting your shoes on before your socks. It doesn't feel right, but... And also how... I don't know how you'd pull that off, but that's what Zergs are expected to do. Will we see some sort of... Like, Scarlett has attempted to go heads up. Just straight up mid-game macro. And Neeb just runs out the clock with carriers. Will we see it again? Or... I'd love to see... I don't know, some sort of Zergling timing. I don't see any Roach all-ins really working against Neeb. Yeah, Stargate again. Not a surprising choice at all. But +1 melee Zerglings are probably the lowest hanging yet. Like the highest... The most... Okay, Jimmy, just edit this part out before I figure... I'll find some words. I lost them at some point, but we'll come back with new great words. And well, +1 Zerglings are probably the least investment for most potential reward and transition into the later game. We can get +2 melee for Banelings and Zerglings, but for Banelings, which allows them to one-shot probes, two-shot Templar. It's a huge damage upgrade. Like, Bane drops are on the table again. Like, I like the Lurker drop. It actually did a great job. But Scarlett never got a chance to repeat it. It was just that single Lurker drop, which... Oh, what? Okay, Zergling. Oh, Zergling's killed a pro. Adept. Well, got a drone in turn. Alright, 1 for 1. Oracle on the way will be sent directly across. Yeah, Neeb not gonna wait. It's pretty obvious with the two Adept opener here that there is a Stargate, which means Scarlett got 2 queens in the main, 2 queens heading for the third. Looking to intercept already. Yep, it's going good. This is the best start for Scarlett so far. Got her natural. Got Zerglings in at all. Deflected the Oracle. There's nothing else to really pressure. There's no Adept timing. There's the Oracles are going to be a thorn, but not an overwhelming one. Oh, Neeb a bit ambitious here. Oh, well, this... No, that ain't it. No! Get off my lawn! Okay, calm down, Susan. I mean, yes, but... That has to feel good after last game, after this whole series so far. You know, as a Protoss, Scarlett, not a bad Protoss. Oh, that feels not great. He made a third Oracle. Moracles. Always good to have enough for one to use Revelation, the other to potentially clear creep, stuff like that. I mean... Oh. Moracles? Interesting. This is one of those, like, I'll just keep building them till it works sort of builds. We haven't seen that in a while. There was a year or two where it was a legitimate opener, just double Stargate into like 8 Oracles. Ugh. Usually players are wise enough and have queens well positioned. There is a Twilight and a Forge to be on. There's the Revelation, a handful of Stalkers. What is... Oh my god, is this the German taxi build? Scarlett has had enough! The queens are in flight! And, here we go. Scarlett not letting Neeb take control of the situation again. Scarlett has to be wondering where the queens are at this point. Of course they can't transfuse off creep, but a lair is done. Creep can be dropped. A recall. A little late, though. The creep is here. You're dropping some creep tubers. Neeb panicking with the shield batteries, but Scarlett has arrived. The queens will lead the charge. The time of queen pushes has not yet ended. It's just slightly more annoying to pull off. There's only one shield battery for now, but a lot more are warping in. Neeb figured this out, but maybe a little too late. A volley of corrosive vials knocked down a cannon. One more cannon. Creep is all over the place right now. The knitting crew is absolutely poking holes in this defense. There's a couple pylons. The batteries are out of energy. There's no upgrades for Neeb. He had like 60 probes. He was late on adding gateways. He was lackadaisically building more oracles. And oracles are not going to defend against queens at your door, shooting over your nexus, into your probes, in their cribs. Okay, Scarlett is here, and Neeb, well, doesn't really have the units to answer. 14 probes down, more corrosive battles. The queen's getting whittled down, but the Zergling's overwhelming. Oh, vengeance! And finally, now, I don't know in the scheme of things how you feel about that in the series, if you're Scarlett or Neeb. Because if you're Neeb, you have to be like, oh, okay, fine, all right. And Scarlett, while that definitely feels good, it's probably not gonna work again. So it's good to get that one on the board. Much better than the alternative, but exciting, dramatic, and also probably a card you can only play once. But we're going into Game 4, which, for you Scarlett fans out there, so everyone, is on Cosmic Sapphire, which is probably the most commonly accepted Zerg map. It is a huge rush distance. In fact, Scarlett might be able to sneak the hatchery, but Neeb sent the probe out at the beginning of the game. Neeb is like, I let Scarlett take the natural once. Never again. And, wow, the beginning of the game to get it here this quick. Yeah, that's, not again. Neeb is not letting this go. Back to what has become the standard in the series. Well, yeah. It is really, truly, I think, the mental, not damage, but it makes you quite uncomfortable to take that third. You really feel exposed as a Zerg. Because your key units get joint pain off a creep. Okay, yeah, you can get personal chauffeurs. Well, it's called the German taxi build, because the first player to really popularize it was Lambo, the German Zerg. And that was before people learned you could just walk the queens across. But now that queens cannot transfuse off of creep, the German taxi build has seen a little bit of a resurgence, because you still need the overlords for creep, so. That worked. Honestly, killing that first oracle definitely helped. I wonder if that was the intent from the start as well. Like, was it because the first oracle was killed and it was clearly going to be a quick third with oracles? Or was it like, I'm doing the queen drop? Oh, come on, Neeb. Come on, Neeb. Wow. Oh, come... And the... Oh... Yeah, so... If there was one thing Neeb probably... He obviously took away from that last game, it's that Zerg players are not allowed to expand to their natural. They just aren't. It's just a no. It's just gonna be a no. An N-O. Wow. This is some disgusting Protoss. Without speed? Yeah, finally Scarlett will... Yeah, but drones are dying. Drones are dying! Oh! What a save! Oh, I mean, what great micro from Neeb. Yes, what a prodigy. Totally not. This is the most disgusting Protoss. Well, gets one at least, I guess. Scarlett's down 6 drones, and nothing really has happened. Obviously, so much has, but to be down 6 drones with no real recourse... there's no third hit. In fact, Neeb's only a few seconds behind on the third. +1 melee is on the way, but... feels like more of a desperation move than an opener. We'll see if Scarlett builds a flood of Zerglings. The Oracles will slip and slide in. It really truly looks like they can fire while moving when the best players are microing them. Did he see it? He did not see the Evolution Chamber. Okay. That's something. It's not much. And Scarlett doesn't look to be... This is more of a defensive +1 melee. What do I mean? This is for the inevitable Stalker push that Neeb will do. In fact, he's already doing. The Oracle and the Stalkers is the most common follow-up. Very rarely are you even going to attempt like a Depths or something after this, because it just doesn't make sense. Oh, still didn't see the Evolution Chamber. So slides in with a couple Oracles. Not getting that much. Scarlett's still making drones here. She's sent the creep out pretty far, taking a 4th. It's been a tough start, but the +1 melee is a very direct counter to this. Especially if the Stalkers get a little bit too far onto the creep. The Oracles won't save you. The Queens can get involved. Scarlett a little supply blocked here, unfortunately. Oh, God. Building Moracles, or... Overlords, rather. Oracles. Getting... the Queens trying to repel them. Unfortunately... Ah! Not an ideal scenario. Losing those Overlords actually hurt a lot. He was at 64 probes. The +1 will be revealed. The Nexus, canceled. Oracle's still looking around. A lot of Zerglings on the map now. 36 Lings, and 18 more in production. Scarlett is almost all in on Zerglings. That 4th base must be denied. At the very least. Stalkers chilling. Scarlett making a bunch of drones behind this. Stasis catches a few. Alright, well, I say must be, but the Zerglings are definitely enough to catch any move out at the moment. There's just not enough units. And Scarlett is using every larva on drones. Besides right now when there's Zerglings on the way, but 72 drones. And taking the gold. So the mass expansion is the choice. I'm going to try to go through. Doubtful this will actually work. A probe, convenient. Oh, well. The Zerglings just not able to chew through in time. But wait, there's Zerglings on the right. Oracles come in to defend. There's still one Oracle at the back. Scarlett with Bane speed on the way. 15 more drones. 15 more drones. Wow, that is several. If she gets away with it, you know what? Instead of trying to deny Neeb's economy, she's just going for even more. But the thing is, Neeb is not... He's not slowing down. He's got +2 on the way. He's still building probes. These Zerglings are going to cut him down under 80, but... this is going to be an even higher economy, especially with the gold here, an even higher economy game than we've seen. Just a ridiculous amount of income. Scarlett up to... gonna hit 4,000 minerals a minute. Now the question is, can she spend it? Are there enough larvae on the map? Especially when going Zergling Baneling. How many hatcheries? 5, 6 hatcheries. Mostly injected. Yeah, there needs to be some detection here. Is there a robot? Yeah, well, that's an observer. The robot's on the screen. I guess once again, we're just jockeying for position. Scarlett gonna try the Baneling path this time. Not going down the Lurker road that has led to disaster. The Lurkers are kind of a false hope, it seems. They're good, but not quite good enough to break a solid defensive Protoss. And then you all but force them into carriers, which, well, we know how that goes. +2 melee on the way. A lot of Ling Bane on both flanks. Scarlett with her own style here in Game 4. The Banelings crashing through the Zealots, looking for more. +2 still not quite there yet, so not a existential threat to the probes. Infestation pit starting as Scarlett realizing, well, it might not end with this, but it'll definitely get close. I mean, Baneling's still a very real threat. Neeb runs the probes away. Good mineral walk. There's no anti-air here, awkwardly. Baneling's looking for anything here. Archons, a great counter to everything on the screen. The zoning cannons. Trying to get through a single shield battery will hold the door. The Nexus surrounded and killed. Trying to get some Banelings to bust through here. It's the Zerg units are getting in the way. +2 melee is done, but the Archons are here. Neeb is holding strongly. Bending a bit, losing a Nexus or two, but they're not ones he's committed to defending. Still, the opportunity for some stasis, though I don't know if he had the energy there. Zealots. Scarlett has to bring a bunch of Zerglings back into the main. Oh god, that positioning. Oh god! Oh, this is quite the toll booth. Meanwhile, the main army, Baneling's trying to crash in. The storms whittle them away, evaporating. The storm fields here. Oh, Neeb. It appears eventually the Zealots will be dealt with. Another round of Bane. The storms are gone. The Archons are not. It looks like Scarlett will defend, but at what cost? Well, actually, Scarlett killed 2,700 gas of units. But what was Neeb covering for? The fleet beacon is finishing, and the stargates are completing. He may have lost a little more than he bargained for. But Scarlett doesn't have a Spire. She doesn't even have a Hydra Den. So, even a single carrier will go uncontested. Once again, the clock is ticking, even if Scarlett doesn't know it yet. She defended the attack. She's got an insane economy. But we're still stuck on Roach Zergling Baneling. The Warp Prism. Okay, that was not incredible Warp Prism micro, and by that I mean that wasn't any micro. He just lost it. And that's not ideal. But the Archon Templar Immortal. This is such a beefy army. The potential of this tiny army, so fierce. Zealots on the left, and Neeb is just buying time. He's punching the clock right now with these units. Because when their shift ends, guess whose shift is next? The carriers. And there's no answer. There's no Spire, there's no Hydra Den, no Infestors. There's only 6 Queens. There's nothing. There's no counter at all. Even less than, even not even the token Hydras. I don't know what Scarlett will do when she sees the carrier. She has to know it's a possibility. Neeb is kind of... Oh no, even the Spore Crawler died. Which should really highlight the lack of anti-air. Oh god. Scarlett is maxed with nowhere to go. Oh. Well, the carriers are fully operational by the time your Zerg arrive. That is a Protoss death ball. I don't know what you want me to say. Well, it didn't work. Neeb is a strong execution in every sense of the word. Scarlett has nothing. She's flailing with whatever units are left, understanding this was match point. Or maybe it might have ended with those storms. But Neeb survives to the carriers and decisively finishes the series. 3-1. Maybe not the dramatic ending we were hoping for, but Neeb deserved it. A strong series showing exactly how to control all stages of the game that don't involve the monarchy rising up. So, Neeb, 3-1. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you check out this video, which is even better, I hear. And check out Dreamhack Atlanta, the 18th and 20th. And my casting on the B stream, live during the daylight hours on the 18th and 19th. So thank you for watching. I hope I made today a little bit better. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.